looks like some of that strong momentum we saw globally on markets and our markets as well seems to have died away, although our market's still trading positive this afternoon.
Yes, markets are still positive, but I think that momentum after the Japanese earthquake and that slump in the markets, we had a really strong rebound in the markets, and that rebound is now starting to lose momentum. And we've seen that momentum slowly waning, and part of that is that the volume is now starting to wane off. So if you take a look at the S&P yesterday, it was the weakest volume they've had the whole year.
Why are volumes remaining so thin in the market, Rob? Is it just uncertainty among investors?
It is uncertainty. I think that we had a really good bounce from that pullback after the Japanese earthquake, and that the bounce up was very aggressive and quite quick. I think it surprised quite a few people how quickly it rebounded. Secondly, we're coming into earnings season in America, which is starting next week, and people are going to want to see if that all of that good jobs data that's been coming through from the States is filtering through also into earnings, and I think people are waiting to see those earnings come through in the States.
Well, lots of those strong earnings from previous reporting periods came through from cost cutting and job shedding, and with companies starting to hire again, do you think this is going to have an impact on the cost line?
Well, I think that's the key. Are companies hiring new staff and still making profits, or is that going to dampen their profit margins? We still see that the consumer is very lackluster. They're starting to get back on their feet, but the amount of spending that they're doing is still definitely much weaker than we saw before 2008. So the recovery is still quite fragile, and we'll have to see if those earnings are going to still be strong going forward.
As we know, Alcoa traditionally kicks off the earnings season in the United States. Ahead of those numbers from Alcoa next week, would you expect the market to remain uncertain as it is at the moment?
I think Alcoa could set the standard. I think the amount of that they're exporting, how much is going to China, is China still producing quite a lot, will be quite important. So I think people are going to watch very closely to Alcoa's numbers. They are generally a really good gauge of how the underlying economy is going in the States. So definitely looking at that as one of the key earnings figures to come out next week. And if those are really good numbers, I think we'll stay positive.
And if you do see that earnings season as a whole coming in positive, do you think we could see more upward momentum on the equity markets?
Yes, I think you will. I think the other issue that you have to look at is that inflation is starting to cause a problem. And although it puts a dampener on investing, all in the short term, it's going to put prices up, and it's going to push the share markets up as well. So equity markets around the world will still start to move. So I think if the earnings is there, companies still making money, and inflation is there, then the stock market is going to carry on moving upwards.
Well, we are seeing a bit of that risk appetite remaining in the market, and that's being shown in the Rand's levels, trading around 673 this afternoon. So we have seen that strength maintained with the Rand. Yesterday, equities, foreign buying of equities, 1 billion Rand. So that's quite a nice turnaround where we had seen foreigners as net sellers of equities so far this year.
Yes, there had been quite aggressive sellers of equity. I think early in January they had done about 15 billion in equity had come out of the market, and slowly now turning around, they're starting to settle into South Africa. They're seeing that our monetary policies are steady, we get good growth coming through, and money coming back into emerging markets, and again into South Africa, a lot of it coming into the commodities.
Well, with that oil price at $120 a barrel, that Rand, the strong Rand, is going to help us a little bit, though we still do have that petrol price going up quite sharply this evening.
Yes, Rand strengthened in the last week or two. I think the petrol prices was from a little bit earlier than that, so the Rand didn't really help in the last week. But it is a problem. It is a problem for South Africa. Our consumers are also battling. We saw vehicle sales very strong, still moving upwards, but still fragile. And if that fuel price continues moving up aggressively, we see oil above 120. It will put a dampener on the recovery.
Of course, we thought oil at these levels was going to be very temporary, but it looks like it's being drawn out quite a bit. And I suppose the longer it goes on, the bigger a threat it is to global growth prospects.
Absolutely. I think that the Libya problem they thought might be a month. It looks like it's already into month 2. That could carry on into June and July. If we're in mid-year and that conflict is still there, I think there's going to be big problems on supply issues, and it will continue keeping the oil price above $120. It's actually broken a key resistance level at $120 for Brent crude, and it could move up to 140 quite easily.
Was that oil price helping Sasol a little bit, that share price leading the top 40 today, so trading very close to that 400 Rand level for Sasol?
Yes, they've moved up quite strongly with the oil price. I think people are tentative at 400 Rand. They're fully priced at $120, and if that oil price does for some reason come off quite dramatically, Sasol will pull back aggressively. So I think it is the right play. I would be long Sasol, but you just have to watch that oil price. If the oil price stays at 120 and above for a good period of time, Sasol then will break that 400 level and move on to the next levels around 430 Rand.
Another share that's been doing very well, Truworths, up 1.5% this afternoon. This is a share that's gained 10% over the past month. So when you're talking about foreigners returning to our market, do you think they're looking at our retail stocks again?
Yes, I think at the beginning of the year, people thought that the retailers had run a lot. They thought that the rand would weaken quite considerably in the beginning of the year, and people came out quite aggressively out of those retailers. And going forward now, we see that the rand is still strong. It's actually strengthened quite a bit in the last 2 weeks. The retailers still making really good margins from importing cheap goods from overseas and getting really good margins going forward. So people looking at these retailers again and saying, that this could carry on for another 6 to 8 months. So a lot of money flowing back into all of our retailers. We see ShopRite trading back at 107 Rand nearly. Truworths up. Fashini Group is also very strong. Only one lag in really is Pick n Pay after poor results, but otherwise the money flowing back into retailers quite strongly again.
One share not doing as well today, MTN. It was down about 0.7% just a short while ago. We did have rumours coming out this morning in a Bloomberg Wire story saying that it's rumoured that MTN could be buying Idea Cellular over in India, or at least a stake in Idea Cellular.
Yes, Idea came out and said that it's absolute just rumours, but it would be a stake, not a whole buyout from what they say in Bloomberg report. I think MTN have to be very careful. I think they won't go for a full buyout if there is anything into that rumour. And maybe a way to get into India is with a stake, and over time build that stake up into a full buyout. I think obviously they've had 2 attempts to buy into Bharti, and it's gone very poorly for them. So I think maybe they're looking at a different aspect, and maybe a stake would be the way to go. But as Idea said, it's absolute rumour at the moment. We'll have to wait and see. And I think MTN, with their past record, will be very tight-lipped. I doubt we'll get anything out of them at all.